Okay, everybody, we are back on video number 3, I believe it is, of the 68 Gets a Heart. We've got, you've seen it wired up, motor set in, wired up, everything's about hooked up now to the cranking and running. Let me just give you a little rundown. Okay, if you saw the past 2 videos, we pulled the motor out of the Mercury, or Crown Vic, Grand Marquis, I can't even remember which one it was. Cleaned it up, put a cam in it, intake, valve covers, set it in this little 68 Mustang. If you hadn't seen those 2 videos, go back and check them out. Last video, we wired it up, got the electronic ignition wired up, the DuraSpark system, and crunk it. All right, now we're gonna get it back up in there, get the drive shaft in it, the shifter hooked up, and start pouring some transmission fluid in it, making sure we have no leaks or nothing like that. And then we're gonna crank it and see if the thing will take gear, because we actually don't really know nothing about that transmission. It come in on a motor. Actually, if you know the motor that's in Drake's blue coupe Mustang, I believe that is it. Bought it on a crate, motor, transmission bolted together and all that, painted up, and didn't know nothing about it, bought it at auction. But anyway, he sent the motor off to have a stroker motor built out of it. And the transmission we just put back and we put it in this car. So, I mean, we're thinking it's a good transmission, but we don't really know for sure. But now that we got this thing where we'll crank, we'll get it where we can let it sit and idle, let that transmission warm up and see if it'll take reverse, see if it'll take gear, and then we'll go from there. So let's get it up in there, get the drive shaft in it, and all that kind of stuff. Get the bottom part done. Okay, we got the drive shaft in, put brand new U-joints front and back. I need to find the grease gun to see if I can grease them. Right over there it is. I'll go ahead and grease them. Like I said, we put new front and back. We've got the speedometer cable in, the shifter's hooked up, and no, this tape ain't for permanent. It's the rods maybe a little bit short, so I just put it in there to kind of hold it, because it's actually a little loose up in the transmission part, so we're gonna have to find us a bushing and get the rod properly adjusted. So we're fixing to let her down, see if it'll take gear. Okay, we got 5 quarts of oil pulled in it. We're gonna pull our dipstick out, see how close it is. We know we've got a 5-quart pan. I don't know if you can tell it on the stick, but it's a little over the full, like right there is the safe mark, and it's just right there at it, maybe a tad above it, real close, just right. So we know our dipstick's good, because like I said, we know we got a 5-quart system, and I poured 5 quarts in it, so we're good there. I've poured 3 quarts of transmission fluid in it. I'll probably pour 1 more before we start it, because I know it don't have much in it, because it was sitting, and you know how transmission is. If it's sitting on the floor and you bump it and it's got a lot of fluid in it, it'll be all over the floor. So I'll pour 1 more in it, and then we're gonna pour a little gas down the carburetor. We're gonna crank it up, and we've got all our vacuum leaks stopped up, I think. So we'll see if it'll idle. This is not the carburetor we're gonna use, so that's why we hadn't done nothing with our fuel line. If I can round up the carburetor we're going to use, then we'll get our fuel line hooked up. We've got our gas tank over here, but it has been sitting for a while, so we're going to have to clean it out. If you know anything about this new gas and sitting in the gas tank for a while, you really can't see in there, but if you can see around the edge, we're going to have to pour some white vinegar in there and clean it out, make sure it's all good to go. Then we'll be able to bolt it in, hook our fuel lines up, bolt it up with gas, fill it up with water, and let it sit there and run. Okay, I've got the switch and everything hooked up. I know it will crank with the key, but since I'm just a 1-man band here right now, till Drake gets over here, or Alan, I'm gonna just spin it over with the solenoid. Poured a little gas in it, let's see. I believe it's gonna need just a little bit more. Let me see if I can fill that bowl up, and that way it'll sit there and run in a second. Okay, I think I got the bowl filled up, and I give it a big old drink. Let's see what we can do. May I give it too big a drink. May have flooded it. All right, let me put the phone down for a minute and see what I can do here. for a second. I just ain't got enough hands for the gas, the phone, the carburetor, but it did crank and idle. So let me work on that a little bit and we'll see if we can get this thing to crank up and idle where we can let it sit and run. All right, she's idling. Well, she idled for a minute there, but we got her idling. I'm afraid that clicking is going to be our fuel pump thing there. I had the wrong eccentric in it, I believe. We'll have to dig into that deeper, but it is idling. Okay, we're back up on top, hooking our heater hoses up now. We swapped to a different carb. That way we can hook our fuel line up like it's supposed to be. If you can see, we got the back one. Somebody's put a plug in here and they put some sealer on it and it does not want to move. And we're worried if we try to pull it out, it'll pull the threads out of that aluminum intake. That's where your heater hose usually goes. But that was missing a port back there. It was open. So we're gonna run the one in it and then we'll run the one below it up to the water pump here. So that's what we're working on now. And as soon as we get that hooked up, we'll be able to fill it up with water and maybe we can let it sit and run idle for a little bit and pull that transmission in gear. Okay, we've got the Mustang moved over here to this side. We have got the gas tank mounted in it. Got it all hooked up, both down fuel pumps in there underneath the bottom. We'll fix to pour some gas in it and see if we can crank this thing. So, cross your fingers. All right, we got some gas poured in it. We're just gonna run our fuel pump wire over to the hot side of the battery right now. And we're gonna see if we can't crank this thing. Okay, it's time to see if this thing crank with a switch. Oh, if I can reach it. Almost. Sitting here idling all by herself. Fuel pump hooked up. Got a fan on it. Trunk it with the switch, as you've seen. She's running good. How smooth she is. Get some exhaust on this thing now. She is coming along. Switch again. Drake's gonna try it. Don't believe me, I don't think. It'll run.
Reach switch.
I'm gonna have to open the door. Oh, hold up.
All that work, you ain't got the battery on?
Yeah, might need a battery.
Yeah, gimme.
Now try it. Baby cranks like a Ford. Gotta do something on that starter crossover wire. Oh, it's
Don't kick back out, but
yeah, they kick it back out fast. Climb in it and see if it'll take gear, or if it got brakes. I ain't even sure it's got brakes.
I don't know either.
Make sure it's got brakes before you try to take gear.
Don't say it don't.
Might ought to hold up on that part then. We'll get some brakes on it next. She's running smooth. let's go.
Yeah, this car can't be for sale with that carburetor. Bring it,
Bring your own carburetor.
BYOC, bring your own carb.
There you go. Well, let's do some tuning on it. All right, so we got it running. Now it's time for the brakes. Master cylinder's bad, we know of, so we're gonna replace the master cylinder, work on the lower and the front end and the back end, or at least the front end. So that's gonna do it for this video, video number 3. And next video, lowering the front end, fixing the brakes. 256 Garage out.